Chapter 1. The day she called me a driver. I never thought my marriage would break on an ordinary morning, but that's how it happened. No storms, no screaming, just one sentence from my wife that sliced deeper than any knife. It started with her heels clicking across the kitchen floor while I was making coffee. She didn't even look at me. She just said, "Drive my assistant today." I blinked at her. "What? Why me? You have a whole company full of drivers." She didn't sigh. She didn't flinch. She didn't act like someone speaking to her husband. She just repeated, "Drive my assistant today." I stared at her and all I could think was, when did I become a tool in my own house? I set the mug down. "Lena, I'm your husband, not your employee." She finally turned her eyes on me. Cold, sharp, tired of my existence. "You're free today. She needs a ride." I don't want to hear complaints. Complaints. I laughed a little, but it came out broken. "You're asking me to drive your 23-year-old assistant around the city like an unpaid Uber driver." She shrugged. "So? It's not a big deal." "It is to me," I said quietly. That annoyed her. Her eyes narrowed. "Don't make everything emotional. She needs help. Do it." I looked at her beautiful suit, her polished hair, the wedding ring she barely remembered to wear. And then I asked something I shouldn't have asked, but I needed to. "Do you still see me as your husband?" She frowned. "Don't start drama. That's not an answer." Her voice turned sharp. "I don't have time for this." "You never do," I whispered. That's when she finally snapped. "Stop acting like a victim. You should feel lucky I let you stay in this house at all." "Lucky?" My stomach twisted. "I pay half the mortgage. I cook, I clean. I support your career. How is that lucky?" She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting." "No," I said, and for the first time in months, my voice didn't shake. "I'm finally reacting." She stared at me like I was a stranger. Before I could speak again, her phone rang. She picked it up instantly, faster than she'd ever answered a call from me. "Hey, Maya," she said, smiling in a way she never smiled at me anymore. "Yes, he'll drive you." I felt my chest tighten. "I didn't agree to." She held up her hand to silence me. "Yes, he's available. He has nothing important going on." Nothing important. Nothing. That was me in her eyes. She ended the call and grabbed her purse. "You'll pick her up at 9, she declared, walking past me. I stepped in her way. My voice was low, but steady. "Why do you treat me like this?" She looked bored. "Because you can't do anything on your own. I'm the one carrying this marriage. I'm the one with a future. Not you." "I worked before," I said softly. "I quit my job to help your parents when they were sick. You begged me to." "That was years ago," she snapped. "You should have rebuilt yourself." "I tried. Not hard enough." She stepped past me. "Drive her. Don't embarrass me." The door closed behind her, and in the heavy silence she left, something inside me cracked. I sat at the table, staring at the cold coffee, and whispered to myself, when did I disappear in my own life? At 9 a.m., I drove to the address she texted. I shouldn't have gone, but I felt trapped. Like if I didn't follow her orders, she'd crush whatever dignity I had left. Maya, her assistant, stepped out of her apartment building. She was polite, awkward, uncomfortable. She opened the car door and said gently, "You don't have to do this. She's in a bad mood today." I forced a smile. "Today? Or always?" Maya hesitated. "I don't want to get involved." "That's smart," I said. "Nobody should get pulled into our mess." During the drive, she kept glancing at me like she wanted to say something. Finally, she whispered, "She wasn't supposed to make you drive me." I tightened my grip on the wheel. "She doesn't see me as her partner anymore." Maya swallowed. "She's stressed. The company." "It's not just stress," I said quietly. "It's disrespect." She nodded slowly. "I'm sorry." I dropped her off at the building and watched her hurry inside. I sat in the car for a full minute before exhaling. Then a thought hit me. A wild, painful, freeing thought. What if I didn't go home? What if today was the day I stopped being her driver, her doormat, her silent shadow? My phone buzzed. A message from Lena. Pick her up at 4. No, please. No, thank you. No, how are you? Just a command. My hands shook. But then, something inside me hardened. I whispered to myself, I'm done. Instead of driving home, I turned the car around and headed somewhere I never thought I'd go. The registry. If she wanted a driver, she could hire one. I was done being anything but a husband. And if I couldn't be that, I'd rather be nothing to her at all. Chapter 2: The Assistant Who Knew Too Much. I didn't even make it to the elevator before Mia, my wife's assistant, caught up with me. Her heels clicked like she was chasing down a criminal. Ethan, wait, she called. I stopped, mostly because I was too tired to pretend I didn't hear her. She finally reached me, slightly breathless, clutching her clipboard like it was a shield. You're really upset. No, I said flatly. I'm ecstatic. Can't you tell? Her eyes softened. Ethan. She didn't mean it like that. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. Mia. She meant it exactly like that. We stepped into the elevator together. The doors closed, trapping us inside the tiny metal box with my humiliation. She leaned against the rail. She's been stressed. She told me to be her driver, I said. Not stressed. Decisive. Mia looked at me with something between pity and guilt. You know how she gets when she's close to a merger. She's sharp. Sharp. I looked at her. That was a clean cut, Mia. Straight through. She looked away. I'm sorry. The elevator chimed. We stepped out into the parking garage. She followed me as if she wasn't sure I was safe to leave alone. Ethan, she said quietly, if you're going to drive me, at least let me sit in the front. I'm not driving you anywhere. She blinked. You're not. No, I said. I'm making a stop first. Where? I unlocked the car. Registry office. Her breath caught. Oh my God. Ethan, wait. Please. Talk to her first. She can talk during the signing if she wants. Mia grabbed my arm before I could climb in. Ethan, listen to me. There are things you don't know. I froze. Like what? That my wife doesn't want me around? That she'd rather I just be her loyal little errand boy? That? No, she cut in. Things about her company. About the merger. About what she's been doing. You're walking into something blind. I stared at her. Are you trying to tell me my marriage is a business strategy? She didn't answer. Which was an answer. I exhaled slowly. Get in the car, Mia. She slid into the passenger seat, worry twisting her features. You're really going through with this? Yes. I started the engine and pulled out, the echo of her silence pressing harder than her words. Halfway to the registry, she finally spoke. Ethan, she's scared. I snorted. Of what? Losing control. Of losing everything, she said quietly. You're not the only one she pushes away when she feels cornered. I didn't respond. She continued, softer now. She hasn't slept more than 3 hours a night in weeks. She's barely eating. And she's losing trust in everyone. Even me. That doesn't give her the right to treat me like an employee. No, Mia agreed. But she's unraveling. And she won't admit it. We stopped at a red light. I tapped the steering wheel, jaw tight. You know, I said, when I first met her, she told me she liked me because I was steady. Because I wasn't afraid to love her even when she didn't love herself. Mia glanced at me. She remembers. Does she? Because lately I'm just convenient. Placeholder. Someone who won't fight back. Mia hesitated. Ethan. She thinks she's protecting you. My head snapped toward her. By humiliating me in front of her assistant? She didn't expect you to show up, Mia said. She thought you were already out. Avoiding her like you usually do when she snaps. That one stung. I looked back at the road. She used to want me home. Now she wants me gone. She wants you away from the chaos, Mia corrected. She thinks if you stay out of it, you won't get dragged down with her. And does she ever think about how lonely that feels? Yes, Mia whispered. All the time. We pulled into the registry office. Chapter 3. She moved before I did. The registry doors swung open, and the smell of paper and polished would hit me like reality. I stepped inside, my heart hammering. Everything around me was normal, calm, too calm. I expected the quiet to feel safe, but it felt heavy, like it was watching me. I froze the second I saw her. Maya, my wife's assistant. She was already at the counter, filling out a stack of papers. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. Ethan, what? I swallowed hard. What are you doing here? My voice wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of every betrayal, every humiliation. Every late night I'd spent wondering why my marriage was a lie. She fumbled with the forms. I'm filing some company documents for Lena. For Lena? I asked, jaw tight. Here? At the registry? She nodded quickly, biting her lip. I mean, she wanted me to take care of it today. I didn't know wouldn't be here? I finished for her, my hands clenched at my sides. Of course. Who would expect a husband to show up at the divorce registry? Her face fell. She looked at me like I had just delivered the news that the sky was falling. Ethan, I didn't want you to find out like this. I swear. I laughed bitterly. Find out like what? That she's doing this behind your back. Filing things you weren't meant to see yet. Her hands shook. She pressed her fingers to her forehead. You don't understand. She didn't want it to hurt you. I took a step closer. Didn't want it to hurt me? Or didn't want me to know the truth? Maya flinched. Both, maybe. I don't know. I'm sorry, Ethan. I really am. I stared at her, trying to process the mix of apology, fear, and guilt written all over her face. She wasn't the enemy, but she was the first person standing between me and the clarity I'd come here for. Then tell me, I said quietly, leaning against the counter. Tell me everything you know. She swallowed, hands still clutching the forms. Lena, she's been planning a lot without telling you. These filings are just one step. She thinks you won't fight back, that you'll keep being her perfect, quiet husband while she moves her empire forward. I shook my head. Perfect? Quiet? You mean used? Invisible? Maya winced. I didn't mean. You meant exactly what you said. I snapped. She thought I wouldn't show up today. She counted on me being obedient. On me being nothing. Her eyes filled with tears. Ethan, I didn't want you to see this like this. I pinched the bridge of my nose. So, you're her assistant, and you're helping her hide her betrayal from me. I'm not hiding. Maya burst, her voice trembling. I'm scared. She's scary, Ethan. I've seen what she does when people cross her. I didn't know how else to help without getting hurt myself. I didn't want to hurt you. I froze. You didn't want to hurt me, and yet here we are. You're standing at the counter with her plans in your hands. I know, she whispered. I know it looks horrible, but you have to believe me. I didn't want this. I don't. I sighed, feeling the old exhaustion wash over me. My chest was heavy. My hands shook. All the betrayal, all the manipulation, all the cold, calculated cruelty I'd endured over the years was pressing down at once. Then, I said slowly, voice low and firm, you're going to tell me everything, every secret, every plan she's hiding. No more lies, no more pretending. If I'm going to end this, I need the truth. Maya's lips trembled. She nodded, trembling so hard I thought she might collapse. I'll tell you. I swear I will. But you have to promise me you'll stay calm. Don't let her win by losing yourself. I exhaled, finally letting some of the tension leave my shoulders. I've already lost so much. Staying calm isn't the point anymore. The point is knowing what's real before I decide what to do next. She handed me a folder. The weight of it in my hands felt like holding years of secrets, years of manipulation, and every lie I had tolerated without knowing it. I opened it slowly. Papers, documents, messages, proof of everything Lena had hidden. And for the first time, I saw it all clearly. She had moved before I did. She had planned ahead. She had thought she was smarter than me. But she hadn't counted on one thing, me showing up. I looked at Maya. Her guilt was real. Her fear was real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt a flicker of control. This, I said, my voice steady now, is why today changes everything. Maya nodded, tears spilling freely now. I'm so sorry, Ethan. I never wanted to be part of this. But you need to know. I know, I said. And now she's about to find out that I know too. The door to the registry opened behind me, and I realized, as my heart skipped, that she might walk in any second. Chapter 4. When she finally walked in, the sound of the door opening made my stomach twist. I looked up and there she was, Lena, my wife, my so-called partner, the woman I had loved blindly, the woman who had treated me like furniture for years. She paused in the doorway, heels clicking on the polished floor, and froze when her eyes landed on me. Her face shifted, surprise, shock, and something else I hadn't seen in a long time, fear. Ethan? Her voice was soft at first, almost hesitant. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. The folder in my hands told her everything. The stack of papers I held was heavier than any suitcase I had ever carried, and it was full of her lies. Maya, standing beside me, swallowed hard. I could see her tension, the way she wanted to shrink into the floor. I didn't look at her. All my focus was on Lena. She took a hesitant step forward. I didn't think you'd come here today. You didn't think, I said flatly, that I'd ever see this day coming? I tapped the folder in my hands. Or that I'd finally decide I deserved to see the truth? Her eyes flicked to the folder, and I could see it. Her breath hitched, her composure slipping for the first time in years. Ethan, you don't understand. I understand enough, I said. I understand that while I've been making this marriage work, you've been planning everything without me. You've been moving pieces like I don't exist. And you've expected me to stay quiet while you did it. She shook her head, taking a step closer. It's not like that. I thought I was protecting us. I thought if I handled things, if I planned ahead, we'd be safe. Safe. I laughed, the sound bitter. Safe from what? Me? Safe from the life I'm allowed to have under your roof. She faltered, lips trembling. I didn't want to hurt you. Didn't want to hurt me? I repeated, voice rising. You ordered me to drive your assistant like I was a chauffeur. You ignored me when I asked questions. You treated me like I was disposable. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean. You didn't mean? I cut her off. You didn't mean any of it, but you did it anyway. Every word, every command, every little dismissal was deliberate. You thought I'd stay the same, obedient, quiet, loyal. Lena's hands shook, and she looked at Maya, who had stepped back, unsure whether to intervene. Lena's voice cracked. Ethan, you lied to me, I said, and you thought you could keep it hidden. But thanks to your little assistant here, I know everything now. Every plan, every secret, every step you've taken without me. She flinched. Don't, I said, voice low and steady. Don't explain. Not yet. You'll get your turn. Right now, I just want you to look at me and realize what your choices have done. Her knees wobbled slightly. She looked like a woman seeing the consequences of her own actions for the first time. You were supposed to trust me? I whispered, my voice almost breaking. You were supposed to love me enough not to make me a pawn in your empire. I thought I was protecting you, she said, barely audible. You were protecting yourself, I spat, and I was invisible the whole time. A long, heavy silence stretched between us. Her lips trembled, and for a moment, she seemed smaller than I had ever seen her. Not as the powerful CEO, not as the untouchable Lena, just a woman caught in her own web. She started and stopped. Ethan, please, I shook my head. No, you get one chance to speak, but you don't get to manipulate me with apologies or excuses. You chose this life. You chose to lie. And now you're facing me. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I could see her trying to compose herself, to remember the woman she thought I still loved. But I didn't feel love anymore. Not in the way she expected. You've changed, she whispered, voice cracking. Chapter 5. The first move. After Lena froze, standing there like she'd been caught in a trap of her own making, I finally let my shoulders drop. Not because I forgave her, never, but because the weight of uncertainty had lifted just enough to give me focus. Maya stepped aside quietly, her eyes darting between us. I could tell she wanted to leave, but she stayed. Maybe she was afraid of what would happen next, or maybe she understood that I had finally taken my power back. I looked at Lena. She was still trembling. The perfect mask of composure she wore every day gone, replaced by raw panic. "Ethan, please," she said, voice low. "We can talk. We can fix this." I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A sharp, dry laugh that made her flinch. "Fix this? Lena, this isn't broken because of a single mistake. This is years of treating me like I don't exist. Years of lies, manipulation, and using me as a prop in your empire. And now you want to fix it." Her lips quivered. I didn't realize, Dash." "You didn't realize?" I echoed. "You've been building walls around yourself, hiding things from me, pretending your marriage and your life could exist without me noticing. And somehow, you thought you could keep it all hidden forever." She swallowed. "I thought I was protecting you, Dash." I shook my head. "Protecting me? Lena, I don't need protection. I need honesty. I need a partner. And all I've ever had is orders." She looked away, guilt painting her face in ways words never could. I could see the truth in her silence, the truth she'd hoped I'd never discover. And now that I had, the dynamic had changed. The fear in her eyes wasn't just because of me. It was because she finally understood that she no longer controlled me. I leaned forward, pressing the folder against my chest. "These," I said slowly, "show every plan you've made without me. Every decision you thought I wouldn't notice. Every little move to manipulate, to control, to keep me in line." Her eyes flicked to the folder, wide with panic. "Ethan, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think," I interrupted. "And now you have a choice. You can keep lying, keep trying to manipulate me, or you can accept that I've seen it all. And you're going to answer for it." She looked down, hands clutching her purse, as if holding onto it might make her safer. "Answer, for what?" "For treating me like I don't matter," I said, voice low but steady. "For taking our marriage, our life together, and trying to turn it into a game where I had no say. For forgetting that the person next to you isn't furniture. He's me." She shook her head, tears spilling freely now. I didn't want. You didn't want, but you did," I said. "And that's enough. Enough to show me that staying silent isn't an option anymore. Enough to make me decide that I won't be your victim." Her voice cracked. "Then what do you want, Ethan?" I looked at her for a long, silent moment. Then I spoke, every word deliberate, heavy with intent. "I want respect. I want honesty. I want to decide what my life looks like, without you controlling every step. Starting today." She flinched, and I could see the flicker of fear. But I didn't stop there. I had to make her understand the consequences of years of betrayal. "You've built an empire," I said, voice rising slightly. "And I've helped you, supported you, trusted you. And for what? To be ignored? To be treated like a shadow?" Her lips trembled. "Ethan, please." I shook my head. "No. Today isn't about begging or pleading. Today is about the first move. And my first move is simple. I decide how I walk out of here. I decide who I am. And you will see that you can't scare me into staying invisible anymore." Maya exhaled quietly, relief washing over her face. She'd been holding back, and now she relaxed slightly. "You're really done with her," she said softly. I looked at her, then back at Lena. "I'm done with her pretending. I'm done being silent. And from now on, every action, every word, every choice she's made will meet its consequence." Lena's mouth opened, trying to argue, to manipulate, to save herself. But I held up a hand. "No, not yet. First, I walk out of here as myself. Not her shadow, not her driver, not her husband in name only. And then we'll see who pays the price. Her knees wobbled. I could see the panic spreading across her face, the realization that the quiet, obedient man she'd underestimated for years was gone. I exhaled and turned, leaving the registry office with my head held high. The folder in my hand wasn't just evidence of her betrayal. It was a reminder that I could take control, that I could finally be free. Maya followed silently, understanding that her role here was over, her loyalty tested. And as we stepped into the sunlight, I whispered to myself, "This is the first move, and I'm not stopping." Chapter 6. Setting the board. After leaving the registry, I didn't speak much. Maya followed silently, her presence a quiet reminder that I wasn't entirely alone in this mess. But even her presence couldn't shield me from the storm raging in my mind. I drove in silence, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. Every red light felt like a countdown to the moment I could finally act. Not out of revenge yet, but out of control. The first move had been made. Now I had to set the board. Maya finally spoke, her voice soft. "Ethan, what are you planning to do?" I didn't answer immediately. I let the car hum over the tires on the asphalt, letting my thoughts align, letting my anger settle into purpose. "I'm not sure yet," I said finally. "But I know this. Every move she made against me will have a consequence." Maya glanced at me. "Do you want me to help?" I considered it. Her loyalty was complicated. She wasn't on Lena's side emotionally. She'd confessed that. But professionally, she was her assistant. Could I trust her to help without tipping off Lena? "Yes," I said slowly. "But you follow my lead. No improvisation. No surprises." She nodded. Understood. The plan started forming in my mind like a map of every betrayal, every slight, every ignored plea for honesty. I'd been the pawn for years, the quiet husband, the invisible fixture in Lena's world. Not anymore. I called my lawyer from the car. "I need a meeting tonight. My office. Now." The line went quiet for a moment. "Ethan, everything okay?" "I'll explain when you get here," I said. "But make sure all paperwork related to Lena's assets, her companies, and the merger is ready." The call ended. I exhaled slowly. My pulse was steady now, replaced by something sharper. Anticipation. When I pulled into the garage, Lena's car was nowhere to be seen. That was good. She didn't follow. Not yet. Maybe she was still paralyzed from what had happened inside. Maybe she hadn't realized that I was done playing her game. Maya glanced at me. "Do you want to go home first?" "No," I said. "We go straight to the office. There's work to do. And she'll notice." "Oh, she'll notice." Inside the office, I didn't bother with pleasantries. I shut the door behind us and sat at my desk, sliding the registry folder in front of me like a weapon. Maya stood near the doorway, uncertain, yet watching carefully. "I'm not doing this for revenge yet," I said aloud, almost to myself. "I'm doing this to reclaim control, to make sure she knows I'm not invisible, that her empire isn't untouchable, that she underestimated me for the last time." Maya shifted on her feet. She won't take this lightly. Lena will fight. I don't care." I tapped the folder, each tap like a heartbeat. "Let her fight. She's been fighting against me for years. Now it's my turn. Every move she made without me, every document she signed, every secret she hid, I'm going to counter it strategically, quietly, efficiently, and she won't know until it's too late." Maya bit her lip. "So, what's the first step?" I opened the folder, flipping through the documents. There were contracts, signatures, internal memos, evidence of everything she had tried to manipulate behind my back. "First," I said, "we make sure the legal foundation is solid. If she thought she could control me financially, we crush that illusion." She nodded slowly. "And emotionally?" I stared at the papers. "Emotionally, she already knows I'm no longer the man she can toy with, but I'll make sure every action, every choice, reminds her that she doesn't hold power over me anymore." Maya's gaze met mine. "And if she tries to retaliate?" I leaned back in my chair, the weight of the registry folder grounding me. Then we let her try, because for the first time I'm ready. I've been quiet for too long. Chapter 7. Karma knocks harder than I do. The next morning, I woke up feeling different. Lighter, sharper. The weight of waiting, of pretending to be the man I wasn't, had lifted. Now every move I made would count. Every step would remind her that I was no longer invisible. Maya had already been at the office when I arrived, a quiet but steady presence. She handed me a folder of new documents she'd prepared overnight. "I've cross-checked everything," she said softly. "There's nothing missing. You're ready." I took the folder, running my fingers over the papers like a pianist preparing to play a deadly melody. "Good," I said. "She won't see it coming until it's too late." My first move wasn't grand. It didn't need to be. It was simple, surgical. A subtle shift in her finances, a reallocation of assets she had assumed were untouchable. The sort of move that looked like business as usual on the surface, but underneath it was carefully calibrated to unbalance her empire. I called her assistant, Maya's eyes wide as I spoke. "I need you to deliver these contracts to her office," I said. "Say they're routine, but make sure she signs them today." She hesitated. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said. "Do exactly as I say. No improvising. No warning. She won't know until it's done." By mid-morning, the trap was set. I watched from my office as Lena's assistant returned, papers in hand, looking uneasy. A few hours later, I received the call I'd been waiting for. Ethan - Maya's voice trembled over the line. She just realized. She's panicking." I smiled faintly, leaning back in my chair. "Good. Let her feel it. She's had years to manipulate me, to control me, to make me small. Let her taste what it feels like when the tables are turned." "She's trying to call you," Maya said, glancing nervously at the office phone. "Don't answer yet," I said. "Let her stew. Let her feel the consequences before she has a chance to explain or beg." Minutes passed. The tension in the office was almost unbearable. I could hear my own heartbeat, steady and controlled, while outside, the storm of panic I'd unleashed was brewing. Finally, the call came through. I picked it up slowly. "Ethan?" Lena's voice was sharp, almost hysterical. What did you do?" I let out a soft, calm laugh. "I didn't do anything you haven't already done to yourself. Every move you made behind my back, every manipulation, every lie, I merely made sure the consequences landed where they belong." Her voice cracked. "This isn't fair. You can't." "Fair?" I interrupted, voice low and cutting. "Fair is what I've been waiting for all these years. Fair is finally seeing you panic because you thought you controlled everything. Fair is realizing that your quiet husband isn't quiet anymore." There was a long pause on the line. I could hear her breathing, shallow, rapid, panicked. I could imagine her pacing, her empire unraveling in small, precise ways she couldn't stop. And for the first time, I felt something I hadn't in years. Satisfaction. Not cruelty, not vengeance, but the calm, undeniable power of justice. I can fix this," she finally said, desperation lacing her tone. "No," I said firmly. "You can't fix this. You didn't fix it when it mattered. You didn't fix it when I trusted you. And now you can only watch as the consequences hit." She was silent for a moment. I could almost hear her shaking. "Ethan, please dash." I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. "Please what? Please beg? Please manipulate me again? No, you already had your chance. And now, karma is knocking harder than I ever could." Maya watched me from across the room, silent, her eyes wide. She had stayed with me through the registry, through my confrontation, and now she was witnessing the first ripple of consequences hitting Lena. She doesn't know how to handle it," Maya whispered. "No," I said softly. "And she won't. That's the point. Let her crumble. Let her realize that manipulating me, underestimating me, thinking she could control me, was the biggest mistake of her life." I hung up the phone, feeling a strange clarity. Every betrayal she had committed, every plan she had hidden, Every cold word she had ever said was meeting its due. And I was the calm observer, the one who had finally stopped being the victim. For the first time in years, I felt untouchable. Not because I had power over her, though I did, but because I had power over myself. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was acting. And every move was deliberate, every consequence precise. Maya exhaled again, tension leaving her shoulders. "She's going to regret underestimating you," she said quietly. "I don't care if she regrets it or not," I said, standing and stretching. "What matters is that I survived. What matters is that I'm free to move. And what matters is, she finally understands she can't break me." The phone buzzed again. Another call from Lena, I assumed, frantic, panicked, pleading. I didn't answer. I let her rage and desperation simmer in silence. Karma had arrived, and this time it knocked harder than I ever could. Chapter 8. The last door. The office was quiet when I arrived that morning, but the silence didn't feel peaceful. It was heavy, charged with the aftermath of everything I had set in motion. Lena's panic had rippled through her empire, and I could feel the subtle tremors of her fear even from miles away. Maya was already there, neatly arranged files in hand. She looked at me with that mixture of respect and caution she always carried around me now. She knows," she whispered. "Every move, every asset, every little corner she thought she had hidden. It's all unraveling." I nodded slowly, leaning back in my chair. Good. Let her feel it. Let her understand the consequences of the choices she made. Maya hesitated, then spoke softly. Do you want to see her?" I paused. I had rehearsed this moment in my mind countless times. The confrontation at the registry, the phone call, the karmic ripples, it all led to this. And I realized something. I didn't need to see her to know I had one. The real victory wasn't in her panic. It was in my freedom, my control over my own life. "I don't need to see her," I said finally. "I've already seen enough. I've already felt enough. This isn't about her anymore. It's about me." Maya nodded, understanding the weight of those words. "Then what now?" I stood and walked to the window, looking down at the city that had always felt like her kingdom. My hands pressed against the glass, steady, calm. Now I live my life on my terms. I decide what I want. I decide who I trust. And I make sure that no one, ever underestimates me again. The phone buzzed again. Another call from Lena, frantic, pleading, and clearly unraveling. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her desperation had become its own punishment, a mirror of all the fear she had instilled in me over the years. Maya watched me silently. You've really changed," she said softly. I turned to her, a faint smile on my face, calm but resolute. "I had to. I can't stay the man I was. That man was invisible. That man was weak. But he's gone now." There was a knock at the office door, and I didn't flinch. Lena walked in, her heels clicking on the floor, but the confident stride she used to carry herself with had vanished. She froze the moment our eyes met. Ethan," she said, voice trembling. I need to talk." I leaned back in my chair, watching her carefully. Every gesture, every hesitation, every faltering word told me exactly what I needed to know. She was broken, and she knew it. "Talk," I asked, voice calm, controlled. "Do you think words can fix years of lies, manipulation, and betrayal?" Her lips quivered. I made mistakes. I raised a hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Save it. I don't need excuses. I don't need apologies. I don't need your reasoning. You felt the consequences of your actions, and now you face the truth." Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I saw the woman I once loved. But that woman didn't exist anymore. She had been replaced by someone who underestimated me, who thought I could be broken, silenced, and ignored. "I'm done being your pawn," I said firmly. "Done being quiet. Done being invisible. And now I walk my own path." She swallowed hard. "Ethan, please dash." "No," I said. "This isn't about please. This is about closure. For me." Not for you. You'll live with the knowledge of what you lost. I'll live with the knowledge of what